I caught his voice just above the music, loud enough for his buddies to chuckle, soft enough to pretend it wasn't meant for me. She's mine, at work, anyway. Laughter bubbled through the room, the clinking of crystal and hum of meaningless small talk filling the air. The company gala was in full swing. Across the room, my wife smiled politely, lost in a conversation with clients, unaware of the words I'd just heard. And there he was, her so-called office husband, leaning against the bar like he owned it, bragging like a teenager marking territory in front of his back. I didn't react. Just offered a slow nod, like we shared some quiet understanding. His friend smirked, mistaking my silence for surrender. But what he didn't know was that I'd already seen behind a curtain. We'd been married for a decade. She wasn't just my wife, she was my anchor, my closest friend, the center of everything I'd built. I could still recall her laughter echoing off the walls of our first tiny apartment. Those nights spent with cheap wine and big dreams, whispered between kisses. She used to look at me like I was her whole world. But ambition speaks in soft, seductive tones. Late nights at the office turned into vague excuses. Urgent deadlines became reasons to stay out. And the way she guarded her phone, a little too tightly. I wanted to trust her. God knows I gave her every chance. Until one evening, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up on the kitchen counter. A message. His name. Don't forget our little secret. Can't wait for tomorrow. No dramatic music. No thunder. Just silence, cold, deep, and final. That was the night I stopped being a husband and started thinking like a strategist. I didn't confront her. Not right away. Feelings get messy. But facts. They're clean. So I got to work. Gathered emails. Logged text conversations. Pulled credit card statements. Hired a discreet investigator, worth every cent. Photos. Hotel lobbies. Business trips that weren't really business. His hand at the small of her back. Her eyes, the way they softened for him like they used to for me. Betrayal has a flavor. Bitter. Metallic. I let it linger, let it settle, until it hardened into something sharp. He thought he was being slick, whispers behind cubicles, hands brushed in passing, stolen looks when no one was watching. But he didn't know what I did. The company's CEO. Already under quiet investigation for financial misconduct. And tonight's keynote speaker. A state senator here to discuss corporate ethics. It was a perfect storm waiting for a match. So I nudged the right files toward the right hands. Leaked expense reports linking their work trips to company funds. Retreats billed to departments that didn't exist. And I made sure someone close to the senator heard the story. By the time champagne was flowing, the fuse was lit. Later that night, I caught his eye across the room. He wasn't laughing anymore. He saw me in the corner, deep in conversation with the keynote speaker. I rested a casual hand on the senator's shoulder and smiled, one of those smiles that doesn't quite reach the eyes. His face went pale. I watched his throat tighten as he leaned toward his boss. We've got a problem. The CEO's brow furrowed. What kind of problem? Exactly. Let the panic spread. The lights dimmed. The senator took the stage, poised, confident. He spoke about ethics. Responsibility. The slow rot that begins when people in power believe they're untouchable. Every word cut like a blade, slicing toward the guilty without naming names. My wife fidgeted at our table, stealing glances at me and him. She felt the shift. She knew a reckoning was coming, she just didn't know how far I'd gone. Then the senator paused, cleared his throat, and mentioned a tip, an anonymous source. Documents under review. Investigations in motion. Names withheld, for now. But the company would be held accountable. The CEO stiffened. Her lover's fingers twitched nervously. My wife. Drained of color. I didn't applaud. Just took another sip of my drink. The fallout came fast. Quiet murmurs turned into frantic whispers. Texts fired off under the table. Those Sam friends who once laughed with him now avoided his gaze like they'd never heard his boast. By the end of the week, he was placed on leave. His rising career crashed under the weight of scandal. And my wife, pulled into HR meetings, asked to explain the expense reports. Her once flawless image left in pieces. Me. I was calm. Divorce papers already filed, backed by rock-solid evidence. Custody and assets. Locked down. She didn't fight. She knew she'd already lost. The last time we spoke, she asked me why I did it this way. Why not just walk away quietly? Why scorch the earth? I looked at her, really looked. The woman I once adored now just a reflection of regret. And I said, because you didn't just betray me. You underestimated me. Now the house is still. Peaceful in a way I'd forgotten. No secrets whispering through the walls. No lies waiting behind a glance. He thought she was his during office hours. She thought I'd never find out. They both thought I'd stay silent. They were wrong. Sometimes justice doesn't come with noise. Sometimes, it's just a quiet nod across a crowded room. A well-placed whisper. A single move that brings the whole game down. And in the silence that followed their collapse, I found my peace.